What should you do when your anxiously attached symptoms or relationship anxiety is just in high gear and maybe it's pushing a good person away? So this episode is for you if you are in a relationship, maybe you are even married. I just got a client who is married and her anxiously attached symptoms are still happening. And you're feeling like these little triggers keep happening. In fact, it can often feel like the same fight. I used to feel like the same fight would happen every 2-3 weeks. And you are maybe not getting the reassurance that you think you want. And at the end of the day, when you're not triggered, you actually know in your heart that they're doing a good job and you might be the drama. So if that is you, then this episode is totally for you, and make sure to listen to the end because I always drop a hot tip. And today I'm going to drop a hot tip towards the end around what I shifted internally to not only not make them distant, but to bring that person closer. So make sure to listen to the end. And also, if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm your host, and I'm a relationship coach who loves helping girlies who are high achieving, overachievers, who are succeeding, slaying at their careers, the entrepreneurial game. And at the same time, while you're killing it in all those fields, you are struggling romantically, right? Maybe you keep attracting the same person, or you know that you're in this pattern and you just want to have your relationships go as well as your careers, then you're in the right spot, honey. And also, if you're not new here, or if you're new here, leaving a 5-star review would be so appreciated, because this just, number one, feels great to know that you are appreciating the podcast. And it also helps other girlies who are struggling with anxious attachment, feeling relationship anxiety, and it helps to reach more people. So help a sister out, hit the 5-star review, and I appreciate that. So let's dive in, because for certain, this was absolutely my experience when I was dating my then boyfriend, now husband, because if you're new to the game here, I used to be anxiously attached. He was definitely avoidant, and there was, not only was he avoidant, but in his heart, he is a really good person. And besides that whole anxious and avoidant attachment and the thing that we were working through with our attachment styles, underneath it, not only was that happening, but he really was doing a good job, right? When we were together, things were seriously so amazing. And this is honestly the part that I can take responsibility on. Now, I'm going to take responsibility, which is different than blaming. And I'm saying this because I also want to say this for you, that the more you blame or shame yourself for what's happening, if you know and are aware that you're playing a part, because the reality is it does take two to tango. But the key here in you not being able to shame or blame yourself is realizing that that's actually making things 10 times worse. So when I say I'm taking responsibility, this is not from a place of shame or blame, but I definitely can own that I was not really hearing my partner at the time when he was saying great things, or that he would say he loved me or he liked me, his vision for what we wanted. It was like my brain would just blank, like the tape got erased, and it was almost like I could reach a day or 5 hours or something like that, and it felt like I needed that reassurance back. And when that would happen, that would often make him feel like I wasn't listening. He didn't really feel heard because he had just told me that. So in those disagreements or those road bumps, speed bumps, I would do this thing where I would flail. And I've never heard somebody explain it like I'm about to explain it, but tell me, send me an IG DM if you agree. But I would flail. I would just literally emotionally, I would shake my arms and just flail around. And be so desperate. I'll just call myself out. I was so desperate to make it better. I was so willing to call, to text, to say what needed to be said to make that better. And the reality is that was the thing that was actually causing the problem. All right. Me flailing and thinking that I had to do something, that I had to be more nice, that I had to call more, that I had to text more was actually part of the problem. And so again, this goes back to if you feel like you are maybe trying to do your best and your symptoms are making you push them away, the orientation or the flail is what's causing the problem, or it's making the problem worse. Because if I go back into my past, and when I go back into my past, that desire to do, I had to do something to prove my worth, to make things better, to get safety, to get connection, that is actually a really key piece here. And this is why if you are an overachiever or you are really good at getting things done, you have GSD quality, get shit done quality, then this is where it becomes really, really problematic. Because if you are oriented based on your past to do or achieve or check things off the list, to be safe, to get accolades, to get security in your relationships in the past, then this is a real setup for your romantic relationships. So I notice with high achievers, women who are really excelling in their fields, that they struggle with this because honestly, what has made you be a good overachiever, which has made you achieve certain things and are a high performer, right? That could be another word that you relate to, that you are like, you can really push and put the pedal to the metal and just go the distance. That type of programming, because all of that is programming. And whether you are aware of it or not, and I'm going to guarantee that for most of you, it's actually unaware, because this is subconsciously programmed. That safety, that connection, that love comes to you when you do something, when you get good grades, when you can get the chores done in the house, when you can fill in the blank, watch your younger siblings, right? When you can get on varsity and score the goals. All of that has really subconsciously created a pattern where doing is the thing that gets you love, connection, and safety. So, and all of this is happening in your subconscious realm. This is all happening most likely when you're not even aware of it. So again, this becomes really problematic because our subconscious programming is just, it's happening all the time. So in that moment of the trigger, and I want to make it better, I don't want to push them away or them away, this is the system that gets activated. So when we have these deep patterns that aren't addressed, that aren't looked at, that aren't healed, we repeat what we don't repair. So we get into a relationship when actually the best thing for you both might be just some space, not even a breakup, just like let's take a breather, and in your body you might feel just totally freaked out. Because I know I used to feel totally freaked out that I did something wrong, that he's going to leave or they're going to leave, that it's over. All of that is just not what's actually happening. So I speak from experience because this was literally the first, just for a long time in dating in general, but also really became amplified with my husband, because I believe that our relationships are a mirror, that they are there for us to learn and to see something deeper. So this was really obvious for me, this flail pattern that I had, that I was really oriented to, what can I do? What can I say? Can I call you more? Can I text you more? And in my healing journey, it was in realizing that it's not about the doing, that healthy relationships, all right? And I'm sure if you settled with this, and hopefully you're listening to this and you're in a nice space, or taking a walk, or popping this on your drive, and you're nice and calm, that doing and being in a healthy relationship is not about what you do. Okay. And a good example of this is that good relationships aren't necessarily because the other person or you make a lot of money. I mean, that is nice, but that is not what actually creates healthy, long lasting marriages or relationships. That somebody doing a job or making a lot of money isn't actually the glue that's making the relationship work. All right. And I don't know if you look around, but a lot of our relationships are oriented towards what can somebody do for us. If he wanted to, he would. That kind of thinking. And in reality, healthy relationships are not based on what we do for each other. And in my opinion, that is really just a transactional relationship where if we are tallying score, we're like, okay, I did this nice thing for you, and you did or did not do this, then we end up just really pitting ourselves against each other. It's actually not really creating connection. We are actually creating more separation, which is not good in a relationship because healthy relationships are all based on connection and closeness, not separation. So even the concept of what should I do inherently, I believe, is not the right orientation, because that just exacerbates this. Okay, well, I'm doing this and they're not doing this. It becomes a score-keeping kind of relationship. And I don't know if you've been in a relationship where you keep score, or maybe you're seeing the impact of being in a relationship where you are subconsciously keeping score. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because you're never going to win. You're never going to win in a relationship where you're keeping score, but everybody certainly loses, because that orientation towards I did this and you didn't do that. I mean, you can even hear the finger pointing in that language. So that was something that I really had to break in my mindset and my nervous system, and realizing that it's not about what somebody does or does not do, right? That's just, again, not the orientation that I would recommend for building a long-lasting relationship. And so I thought of this podcast episode because somebody literally asked me a question. I'm like, oh, I have so much underneath this that I think a podcast episode should be fitting. And I just, again, want to emphasize that way of thinking, that I need to do something, it also gives the vibe, it's giving, I need to prove something. Okay, I need to prove something. And I have really, in the past 4 or 5 years, have been unraveling my relationship and needing to prove something to people that I love, to people that I don't even know, whatever. And when we have the thought, well, what should I do to make you know that I love you, or make things better, that it's giving proof. And I'm just here to reassure you and remind you that you have nothing to prove. And to be in a relationship, or to place yourself in the seat in relationship where you feel like you need to prove something, then it's just not setting up the relationship words are hard. Relationship up for success. That love is not about proving anything to anyone. And that also it's giving just push energy, that I have something to prove. I've got to convince you. I've got to sell you on this product of me. And I mean, it's just like it's giving walking onto a car sales lot and just putting the chum out for the sharks, that I've got something to prove, just sell me and I'm going to sell you. When really healthy relationships are built on openness and acceptance and honor. When we can orient and feel that energy versus I've got something to prove and I'm gonna text you 10 times a day or whatever, you can see the difference. You can feel the difference, which is way more important, that you can feel the difference from I am here open and accepting and honoring where I'm at, and I'm entering this relationship doing the best I can, and you are too. Very different feeling and very different vibe than I need to prove to you that I am good enough for you. I need to prove to you that I'm worthy. I need to prove to you that I can be a good girlfriend or potential wife. I mean, that's all kind of the underlying message that we are not often paying attention to in relationship. And let's go with the car salesman analogy. Even if we have the best intentions, like even if we have our heart into it and we really want that, when we go into a relationship trying to prove something, even if our intentions are good and we are doing a good job, it's just giving used car salesman. There's nothing to prove. And so if we're giving used car salesman energy, what is the other person gonna be? The natural seat is them being the person that's being sold to, right? And sorry if you sell cars. I'm sure there are really wonderful people out there that sell cars, but I've been on the receiving end of a used car salesman or a car salesperson, and it doesn't feel good. Even when they're saying the right things or the right words, you can tell that the vibe is not great. And so again, unintentionally, when we are focused on what can I do, what can I say to prove it to you, how can I be nice to prove it to you, it is naturally a repellent because people don't want to be sold to. Your partner does not want to be sold to and convinced that you're a good partner. So I know that's really hard because the other layer to this might be a relationship with control. Right? How is your relationship with control, right? How are your control issues? That's just something to be really curious and to explore because again, if we have these underlying self-sabotage patterns, they really get in the way of creating closeness. So if we have an interesting relationship with control and pair that with I'm trying to prove something, and if I can control this environment and can control the situation and I can lay out all the logistical things of why you should like me, which is honestly, I'm ashamed to say how I used to enter dating. I would put out all the logistics. I would look at them logistically and have these expectations in my mind. It doesn't go over well. It doesn't go over well for the other party because it's kind of a turnoff. So here's what I want to just open up, and here's the hot tip, especially since we've been talking about, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And what really shifted for me, and I remember almost so clearly just the scene that I was at when I was at dinner with a girlfriend, my best friend at the time, and we were looking at, okay, what qualities do I want to be with a person? And as I was listing them out, I started realizing, oh my gosh, this person that I am going to meet, this man, so incredible. And I'm looking at all these qualities inside of him. I realize, holy smokes, I have got to work on who I'm being in order to have this amazing person in my life. And so here's the hot tip is, do not focus on what you have to do. Instead, focus on who you are being. And I know my clients listen to this podcast and I love them, but literally they will tell you that this is the thing that we open every single session with, every single time I talk with a one-on-one client. It's really about who are you being, because who you are being is the center of it. It's really the core. It's the ooey gooey middle that the hard outer shell of the truffle circles around or encases. It's who we're being is literally everything. And so when you orient yourself into who am I being in this relationship and who do I want to be, that is very different than the external chase and the focus on what do I have to do? What's the scramble? And you can, for me, I at least feel the difference between, okay, like the flail and the scramble of what are the chess pieces that I have to move in order to get this person closer. But when we focus on who we're being in the moment and the person that we want to be, the person that we ultimately our ideal partner, our husband, our wife, when we focus on who we need to be in order to be with the right person, it literally changes the game. It turns it inside out and upside down, because that is what is so important. And that's the core. That is really the core, and the way that we want to operate is in who we're being. Because when you are being a person that is open, compassionate, considerate, that is receptive, literally name any good quality that you could be. That inherently is what attracts people. When we are focused on who we're being on any given day, on any given moment, that is the quality that people are drawn to and that they want to be around. So, and then that's more of an internal focus versus the external flail. All right. Doing feels like, okay, I'm freaking out, I'm flailing around, versus, okay, I'm going to be somebody who is open, who's receptive, who's compassionate, who accepts myself, and fill in whatever word around the beingness. When we can orient to who we're being and commit to who we're being, that is how we actually create closeness and intimacy in our relationships. So I just saw that question on my TikTok and I just wanted to go deeper with it. So if you're in that position where your symptoms of relationship anxiety or anxious attachment are kicking up and you don't want to push them away, this is seriously a key step in bringing them closer, and that is focusing on who you're being. All right, angels. So again, thanks for listening. I love you so much. And if you feel good, leave a 5-star review. And if you also have questions or you want me to answer a situational question with you, then you can always send me an Instagram DM and I'll go more in depth on it, on your situation on this podcast, and let me know. All right. I believe in you. I love you. Mwah.